Hello, Year 10 Sociology. We're going to have a quick look at question 7. Identify and explain one advantage of using unstructured interviews when investigating motivations for having children. So question 7 asks you to have knowledge of research methods. This is where you need to apply your research methods to the family unit. So for question 7, you will get 1 mark for identifying the advantage or the disadvantage. Don't do both, just do what the question asks you of a particular research method. Then you get 3 marks for explaining why it is an advantage or a disadvantage. And then to get that final mark, the full marks, you need to make sure that you're relating it to the specific topic or context being studied. So if we look at our question here, it's asking you to identify and explain one advantage. So it's not asking you about disadvantage. Okay, you only talk about the advantages. And that advantage is about unstructured interviews. When investigated, so this is the context. Okay, so you need to, for that final full mark, you need to apply it to this context, the motivations for having children. Now we know that motivations for having children are quite complex. It's very hard to generalize why individuals decide to have children or not to have children. And so perhaps we can bring that into our answer. So let's look at the model answer that we have below here. So for your point, I've just said one advantage of using unstructured interviews when investigating motivations for having children is that it allows for qualitative data to be collected. Okay, that's true, isn't it? It's not quantitative. Unstructured interviews, if it was talking about structured interviews or surveys, for example, you could be talking about quantitative data. But this is unstructured interviews. And if we remember, that's where the interview can take, or the interviewee has the opportunity to take different tangents, and it's less structured than perhaps surveys might be, or a structured interview. Okay, so it's less constrained. They can talk about more things. The conversation can go in lots of different directions. Okay, so that's your point. And then you need to elaborate. You need to give some explanation here for those extra 3 marks. So for example, I'm going to talk a little bit about the specific context as well in which motivations for having children. For example, motivations for having children may be complicated and might need some explanation, because that's true. It's very hard to have a definite, not everyone has the same answer for why they have children. Okay, some people might be like it was the right time of their lives, or perhaps some people it was they recently got married and felt that they should have children, or perhaps they fell pregnant unexpectedly. So there's lots of different motivations for having children. Okay, this is important because then the researcher can get more detailed answers, because that's what unstructured interviews allow you to do, right? We could elaborate on this if we wanted a little bit, but we could talk, but essentially, because it's unstructured, because you can go down different tangents, you can, you're able to gain more detail than you would from a quantitative form of research method. And then the final section here, you're just linking back to the question. This paragraph has shown that an advantage of an unstructured interview is the collection of qualitative data. Okay, so then just really hammering home to the examiner that you understood the question and the reasons why it is an advantage. Okay, so pause this video and maybe, do write down this model answer into your book, and then highlight, as I have done, each of the areas in your books. So highlight, underline, or even write in the margin where the point is, where the explanation is, where the analysis is, and where the link is.